Shopping for condos?
Yes.
Good thing you're not moving too fast. Well, my name's Dave Stout. Many of you know me. I'm one of the hosts here at the Grace Unfiltered podcast. I'm here with my wife, April, today. So say hello, April.
Hello, everybody.
Yep. And we thought it would be a great idea this evening to interview the founders and the creators, and the creative visionaries behind the Grace Unfiltered podcast.
Yes, we did.
I thought it'd be a great time for everyone to get to know them. And so we do have Tim and Sahai here with us tonight.
Welcome.
And we thought we'd start by talking about their wedding and maybe not their wedding so much as just their marriage. They have a very unique marriage in that they spend all their time together and they haven't killed each other. So congratulations to you both for that.
Not everybody can work together.
That's right.
It's just that part
it's something to work and play and all that. So tell us a little bit. How did you guys meet? You're clearly, I mean, Sahai, you're from
Ethiopia.
Ethiopia.
Yes.
Yeah. So how did you meet?
In his mother's house at the lunch table. It was just we were invited for lunch after my visiting my nephews, because we share nephews.
Well, your nephews were adopted, correct?
Yes.
Into an American family.
Exactly. Yeah. His
So
brother.
before you were married, you both had the same nephews.
Yes,
Okay.
we shared nephews, and that family ties brought us together, But after we met at the lunch table, we didn't even talk for years.
Wow.
That's just, we met. We had a very good conversation that day. He was very lively. Tim was talkative, as you know he is.
We know.
Yeah. So he had a very good conversation with us, and he stood up out of all the crowd. So
He stood on the couch. Stood out. Okay.
Yeah. So to me, he was so interesting. Then I listened to his talk the whole day. Then we part after the meeting. We never talked after that. 3 years passed,
Wow.
almost 3 years.
Wow. I did not realize that.
Communicating, but we met. He's just one of a family member to me, not more.
Gotcha.
That's it. Then 3 years later, one interesting day or lucky day, I would say to me, I sent a random Facebook message or Albert Einstein quote to all my friends through Messenger. Then that message hits his inbox. He was on my Facebook message friend list. Then he thought I sent that message to him.
Only.
Okay.
Only. Then the next day, curiosity.
But you sent it to a lot of people?
To all my friends. I did not really.
And you thought it was only to you?
Right.
Yes. Then he came like,
I thought, she's communicating with me.
Then that opened the door to us to talk. Okay. Then he, the next day he said, "Did you send me a message? Is that only for me?" And I, no. But it might be for you. I don't know. But then we start talking about that Albert Einstein. Then
Albert Einstein.
Yes.
Interesting.
Then that creates another talk over the week. Then Tim, he get the door opened. Then he start talking, sending message and asking questions. Then he sent me another message through Facebook again, like a message which was an advertisement for a book.
Oh, interesting.
But I didn't know there was a book. I didn't know. It was just something that I thought was interesting. And the topic had to do more. It was kind of a relational thing, but it was more about current events that.
And you guys aren't next to each other, are you? You guys are in different states, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, she was.
It's through FaceTime. All this talk is through FaceTime.
And you were actually living here.
Yeah, I live
in Portland, Oregon. Okay.
And he lives in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we talk through FaceTime. That happened for 4 months. Then the message he sent to me was when I listened to it's a YouTube advertisement kind of thing. At the end she had a book. I bought that book.
Oh,
It is
interesting. You bought it. Okay.
the book. Then it says "Make Love Great Again." That is a book.
I didn't even know they were advertising the book. I really didn't. I didn't know. I really didn't know. What year was this?
He was interesting about the girl was talking about her book. She had very interesting stories. That's what he said to me. But
she was the only girl or sibling that was female in a house full of boys. And
this is the author.
This is the author, yeah. And she had a message about, her take on men and how they're kind of ignored.
Well, and why'd that sound interesting to you?
And why that sounded interesting to me? Because I just found it interesting.
Okay.
And I thought, hey, I wonder if she has any comments about this. And then she ordered the book. And I said, what book? I didn't even know there was a book attached to it.
Okay. Did you know that?
It was just a video. I just saw it as a video.
Okay.
That was interesting. And I was just kind of curious because I want to kind of know how she thought.
Did you know at that time that she had 9 siblings?
No, I had no idea. No.
Move your hands.
Let's pause for a second.
Oh, wow.
We appreciate everybody visiting our sponsors there. We just dearly love all those sponsors and we all use them all. Every one of those sponsors you guys just heard, we use all of them. So I think the question we were talking about was how you guys met. And Tim, you sent another woman's video to your future wife. So how did that go?
And what were you thinking?
I think Dave is twisting my words.
Yeah, that was very interesting. So I was curious why he sent to me. Then I bought the book. That book, then it was interesting because...
And if I remember, I never thought, what book? There was a book. And you said, yeah, I ordered the book. And I said, oh, I'll have to take another closer look.
Then I bought the book and I started reading. A week later when he called me or texted me, oh, I bought the book. He said, what book? You sent it to me. I bought it and I am reading. Oh, what page are you on now? I said, oh, maybe I read about 30 pages so far. Can you tell me every week or can you tell me what you read every week? I said, no.
You read it.
You read it. Then
good for you.
The next time he called me, I bought it. I bought the book. Now, every week we can discuss.
Okay, nice.
So that's how we started.
Yeah. And we did that for 4 months.
4 months, different books.
A couple different books.
Okay.
Okay. Very cool.
So we
And
created
you're in Indiana. You're in Oregon.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. And are you running the assisted living homes at that time?
Not yet.
Okay.
I was on the process of starting.
Okay.
Then I was waiting for the license.
Gotcha. And what were you doing back in Indiana?
Back in Indiana, I was working for a RV company.
Oh,
I love that.
Yeah.
Indiana is known for the RVs.
Because you're big in motorhomes.
Yes,
A
we
little
are.
bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But this is not about us.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's how you met. You met through a family connection, essentially, right? You got together was it a reunion?
I came to visit my nephew.
Oh, okay. You came to visit your nephews,
Yes.
and they were all, and your family,
And my mom.
your family had adopted him.
Yeah, my
His
brother
brother.
did. Yeah, and my mom said, "Hey, are you going to be around?" Because I was traveling a lot at that time, and she said, "Are you going to be available to meet the aunts, Ebenezer and Sami's aunts?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I'm free." So we came over, and
And what was your first impressions of Sahai when you saw her?
I was kind of smitten, but I don't know that I actually. I don't know if that showed a little bit, but I was fascinated more than anything is about the culture.
Yeah.
Because she just seemed like an interesting person.
We have felt that same way too.
Yeah, and I
You're
thought,
interesting.
yeah, and I thought I want to hear more about Ethiopian culture. So I asked you a lot
about
of
coffee,
Ethiopian
especially. How do you make
culture stuff.
The best coffee ever.
So I just asked a lot of questions, as I like to do.
So were you considering yourselves dating at that time when you were talking about the book? When you were talking about the book
you mean
online,
then?
did you consider that?
Even
No.
dating?
no.
I would not
No,
consider
but-
that, and I don't think she would.
Okay.
I would.
So what was your first date? What would you? Let's see.
Yeah.
Well,
I should separate you and put you in a soundproof room and see if you both have the same idea of what your first date was.
Yeah.
well, I can tell you the date
No.
because
No, what was
the date of the date is interesting because it was the 21st of September.
Oh, there's a song about that.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is after we,
And she's the one that noticed it, not
Oh,
me.
really?
Yeah.
after we talked for 4 months. Like he doesn't say it. He was just going around and what we were invited for a wedding for. We both invited to one wedding.
niece.
Okay.
And he said, would you come to the wedding? Are you coming to the wedding? And
It's in California. It was a
if you
destination.
come, then we will go to Las Vegas and Celine Dion and something I like. You can watch. We can go to the show. Then I said,
Nice. Okay.
is that a date? Then he said, he didn't answer, but okay. So I want a direct answer or a direct communication at that point.
Yeah.
So we talked so
So
much.
did you go? Did you go see Celine Dion in Vegas?
No, totally. That didn't happen. Then the wedding was.
We were uninvited to the wedding.
Then from invited to uninvited. That's
Because you guys were going together?
Yes, that's
Because we kept it
explain a little
secret.
bit.
We kept it secret
Okay.
because we thought, what's the point in announcing anything if we don't know if it's going to go anywhere?
Right.
That was the rationale.
So you didn't. So you didn't end up going to the wedding.
Yeah, we didn't.
Okay. So what was your first date?
Then our first dates, I
He
asked
offered to
him,
come and
okay,
visit.
I asked him, can I come and visit you? He said, yeah, actually, it's better you come visit where I live and my surrounding, my friends or whatever, you just come. Then one Friday evening after work, I took a plane
Oh, wow.
and fly to South Bend, Indiana. When I arrived there, Tim was in a rose on his hand.
No.
That's romantic.
And
Cindy
at the
Rose,
airport,
Ethiopian.
Really?
Ethiopian rose. Then one surprised after another. Then I went to his house. He took me to my room. We had a separate room. He took me to my room and he put a teddy bear I had on my bed. He saw that on video. He had a teddy bear.
That's cute.
Then
That's
I have the same kind of teddy bear. Okay, this is next. Then we went for dinner there. We watched Notebook
Movie.
on that date.
So, okay, we went out to dinner and watched a movie.
Yes, we watched a movie. Then the next day we went to the Dune.
Mhm.
The Indiana Dunes
Indiana
National
It
Park.
was actually the Warren Dunes in Michigan.
Yeah, I felt very comfortable and safe around him.
Good.
So
That's
I
important.
had my room. We go out. We come. We stayed separate still, but we talk over nights and we go out, eat, drink, and come. He made me feel comfortable, safe, comfortable around him, and I just trusted him
Wow,
so
that's
much.
great. That's great.
That built just. I felt like I know him forever on that
Wow,
moment.
that's great.
Then the next day, before I come here,
So you committed to go there for the whole weekend?
Yes. The next day again, we went to shopping a condo. That was interesting.
Shopping for condos?
Yes.
Good thing you're not moving too fast.
Too fast. So,
Well, when you know, you know.
do you know?
Okay.
So,
Well, she had a lot of trust in you. That's
we
great.
talked for 4 hours on every Saturday morning continuously
Wow.
for 4 months.
yeah.
That's a long time.
So that's a lot of time, a lot
Yeah.
of hours. And
Yeah, but that buying condo was, okay, I like the place, I like the condo, but I'm not sure if I wanted to buy a condo. So the woman, the realtor or the person who was selling the condo could read my,
Okay.
I don't know, physical response. I don't know what she
You weren't
read.
excited about it.
Yeah. I like the place. I like it's a waterfront. It's beautiful condo. And it was,
So what was
I
your
really
hesitation?
wanted her to consider
I
moving
was sure
there. I
even,
didn't want to move here.
Okay, you got to understand. I don't believe there's water in Indiana.
there's a
there's
beautiful.
lots of water. Yeah.
So
Especially in
it's over the river, big river, and I like the place and the house. But I was not, for one, I don't know even where we go in our
Right.
relationship. Two, I'm not really interested to move from Portland to there for some reason because I'm starting a
Your
business
family,
here.
your community, and everything was here, right?
Yeah,
There's a community of Ethiopians here.
Yeah, and like I said, and your business was
yeah,
starting to
starting.
go.
that.
Yeah, you were.
But
Information.
at some point, I was saying, okay, if we are not living together, distance relationship, I don't want. But one of us has to move. We
Right.
both agreed with that.
Distance
So
relationships.
how
are
long
very
did you guys date, living in different states?
A year, 1 year, 1 year.
And we visited back and forth 8 times, 4 times
Wow,
here,
that's a
4
lot.
times there, in 10 months.
Yeah,
Okay, so you were physically seeing each other once a month, once every 6 weeks, something like that.
exactly.
Yeah. But one of the things also that really kind of solidified a decision for me, finally, to be willing to move here was we met a couple named Dave and April Stein.
Yes.
I think I know them.
You know them?
Do you know them?
I've heard
That
of
is
them.
absolutely true.
And we met at Sherry's for 3 hours. Dave reminds me.
Yep.
3 hours.
I remember that.
And they told us about Marion jelly. Oh,
Marion berry jelly.
berry.
Very Berry
jelly.
Yeah.
Oregon has a
That's
very, very
So
right.
when that, I remember that, but were you guys engaged at that time?
Yes.
Yeah.
At the time.
You didn't know where to
getting engaged.
The engagement. Can you say
Yeah.
about our engagement? Like we had official engagement over Christmas. He came here
Okay.
and he brought the ring and
Oh, wow.
then that was over Christmas here
That
in
was
Portland.
Christmas.
Christmas.
When did we meet at that Sherry's? What month? Do you remember?
It would have probably been my first visit out, wasn't it?
No, it was the second
October?
the engagement.
No, my first trip here visiting.
When you met us
okay.
at Sherry's.
Maybe October.
So
His
you
first
guys got
visit.
engaged in September?
Yeah, no.
Well,
December.
In December.
Yeah.
So
December
10
was-
months later. So
Yeah,
10
May.
months
I
later.
think we met May with them after our
Okay.
engagement.
So it's about
He came in May.
about 5 months after the engagement.
Yes.
Okay.
So, Tim, what were you thinking as far as coming out here in Oregon with the ring?
I really didn't want to move to Oregon because, I think I was thinking a lot just from a financial standpoint.
Okay.
I thought, the cost of living is much better in Indiana. I know it. It's more predictable. Moving to Oregon would not be very predictable.
Well, and you'd have to quit your job.
Yeah. So I was just very hesitant to do that because I know that, yeah. But anyway, I knew she had a community there. She made a conscious decision to move to that part of the country. And, but it took those 4 trips out here and her coming 4 trips. What I appreciated though, is she was willing to move to Indiana.
She looked at that condo.
She was willing. Yeah. She was willing. Yeah. And I think part of the other reason was there was an Indian motorcycle dealership.
Yeah.
And she was just really
Oh.
into getting a motorcycle.
And I'm sorry. Where were you working in Indiana?
Yeah, I was working at a RV company.
That's right, an RV
Yeah.
company.
So, but anyway, so I think for me, the biggest thing was seeing the community because they treated me very, very well. This Ethiopian community.
Okay.
They had a big cake with my name on it.
Wow.
Nice.
Welcome to Portland, Tim.
So they received you really well.
They received me very well, and I really felt welcome. And I thought, okay, this is going to be kind of a family in a sense.
Right.
It's not just.
So you understood when you were leaving your family in Indiana and
Right.
coming out to Oregon, there
I
was a
have to-
family here to receive you.
Exactly. And as I mentioned earlier, meeting the two of you and being around a grace message that I was just learning just a matter of a couple of years.
Okay.
Prior to that, I thought, okay, I'll be able to continue with that.
Mhm.
And then I will also have that to share with her. So that was a huge, huge factor in making it.
And we had no idea.
Yeah.
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 So the grace message clearly was a big deal for you. Was it a big deal for you at the time?
At the time, no. At the time, I was, there's nothing new you are going to tell me. Everything you are telling me, I know it.
Okay.
I know it. I learned this. So there's nothing. And we read a book, Things Are Differ.
Things that differ. Yeah.
Yeah. We read that before even within that
was one
book,
of your
reading
books.
things. Yeah.
Oh, that was one of your
But
books.
even
Okay.
after I read all that, and I went to South Bend Church with him whenever we go attend with Ray. Then the only time Ray asked me, "Do you lose your salvation?" One day he said, "Yes."
He was a
And
teacher.
Okay.
If I messed up, yes, I would.
And you thought that, or that's what he told you?
No, I thought that,
Okay.
and I told him that. He asked me if I lose my salvation.
Gotcha.
Because I told him, I know everything you are telling me. I know Jesus Christ. I know nothing new you are going to tell me.
Okay.
Then the question he asked me is, do you lose your salvation? I said, if I messed up, yes, I would.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
here's the thing. So the reverse thinking comes after that. And it took me a while to understand. Yeah. Still, I have many questions, but at least I'm getting clear every time.
So there was something unique about your wedding. I'm not gonna
Yeah. So we actually got married in a Starbucks.
Oh,
And I guess that's more made sense, especially with Ethiopia being known for coffee.
Yes,
That's where
right.
that was the birthplace of coffee. A lot of people don't know that.
okay.
Goats kind of meandered over from the shepherds and started eating these coffee beans and just started to be
But
really.
it was literally
hyped up.
in the Starbucks.
Yes.
Yeah, so we actually got signed papers in a Starbucks.
Wow.
Yeah, and then we went to a Papa Vina's, which is an Italian restaurant.
Yeah.
Did you have like
for a reception
or the barista
Yeah,
do it?
The barista
it was adjusted as piece.
And did they give you free
It was
coffee?
so unconventional. It was so unconventional. We just got who was available that day.
Wow.
You know, we
You were able to find
and
someone.
we found somebody like last minute.
Did you guys, instead of champagne glasses, toast to coffee?
Coffee. We paused with coffee.
Oh, we definitely had coffee when we were signing papers.
And you said you went to what, Papa
Papa
Vino's?
Vino's.
That's an Italian restaurant, I assume.
Yeah, we had cake. It was like a wine reception cake.
And
Reception.
is that a chain back there? Or?
Yeah, it
Okay.
is. Yeah, Venus.
It was
Papa Vino's.
nothing is fancy about our wedding, but it was no wedding dress,
Okay.
no decor, no preparation. Me had a small cocktail dress, and Tim had his suit somehow, and selfie stick picture
Okay.
ourselves. Nothing. That's all. But so much fun, and we had fun with that. And we walked on the street. People were cheering
Oh,
up.
fun.
Us, like morning.
That's great.
Yeah.
You know, as I'm sitting here, hear that, I go, great job, Tim. Way to go. But that's that was both of your second marriage, right?
Yes.
Why don't you talk a little bit about that? Because second marriages a lot of times tend to be not the formal thing that you went through the first
ceremony,
time.
yeah.
And that's brought you some challenges. I don't know if challenges are the right word, but some things you guys have had to deal or work with.
Yeah, I think too. We didn't really get into it, but except for the wedding that we were uninvited to,
Right.
we could sense that clearly people aren't sharing in our happiness,
Okay.
our excitement, and then that.
Do you have a feeling for why?
Yeah, I think it all had to do with what are the motives involved? Is she trying to get a citizenship or
Okay.
a green card? Do I have something else that I'm,
So it was
That
both.
motive?
It was both families.
No, it was more my brother that adopted the boys,
Okay.
him, or them, I should say, and my mom was even a little skeptical
Yeah,
about things.
Everybody was.
And it got really crazy really fast.
Because they knew Sahai because she was the aunt to
Yes.
the kids. So
Yes.
they already knew her.
But we kept it secret, as I
Right.
mentioned earlier. So we didn't tell anybody. I said something to mom,
Mhm.
but no one else.
Okay.
And I said, why mention it until we know if it's going to go anywhere? So then once we were engaged, then that's when it was communicated.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Just before engagement, over Thanksgiving,
It was
when I went there.
It wasn't
He
official.
wanted to make official. Then that Thanksgiving day turned into disaster.
Do you think they were just shocked?
Again, both sides of the family are just
Just his family. In terms of my family, my dad was in sick bed at that time.
Okay.
How about your
Yes.
boys though?
My boys are okay. Once I told them, they said, "We are happy, mom."
Okay. All right.
Then they were looking forward.
And how about your
Whatever.
daughters?
Yeah, I think my daughters were more open than, of course, my brother and his wife and the boys that were adopted.
They come around. The daughters,
But they've really come
they come
around.
around.
They've my daughters, we are in such a good place.
Good.
And I think they have a very, very broad understanding of everything,
Sure.
past and everything. So I feel a real connection with them.
So you
It just gets stronger.
I haven't been around your family much, but the little bit I have, everybody seems to be very accepting. I've been around
Yeah.
your community, maybe not your family, but I've been around your boys and
Yeah.
and that whole community a couple of times actually, or maybe once. But it has seemed totally thing. But
Yeah.
did it bring up any trust issues? Were there trust issues that you guys had to work through?
And I think a lot of it was part of the resistance. But I think for me, and I can only speak for myself, is, as you mentioned, we're both coming from failed marriages. And if you look at statistics, which I'm a statistics junkie, about half of all one-time or first-time marriages are 50-50. Well, it just grows exponentially if it's a second or a third marriage. And we were both married prior. So the odds were way stacked against us. I mean, the odds of us having a successful marriage was probably 15 to 20%.
Did your brother have any justification for why he wasn't accepting of it, or just angry?
Well, I really do think that because I'd been married before, they were probably thinking, okay, maybe this is not going to be good for Sahai. And what if the whole thing, but he was only getting information from one side of the situation. Now they have a fuller understanding of all that.
Oh, sure.
So that's helped a lot.
Yeah.
They choose to believe.
Because you guys just got back from India.
Yeah. We had the best trip we've had.
Good.
Yet.
Great.
Yeah. I mean,
that's what
before we go away from the trust issue, is, trust doesn't come overnight.
Right.
But however, I felt safe and I trusted him from just the beginning. I wouldn't really go into marriage relationship because I had failed marriage with already. And but he made me feel safe around him. So I have no trust issues around him. However, these cultural differences, we had things the way we think, it's so different. At the point when he was saying prenup to me is, I don't care about anything. I just care about our relationship. I don't care about what he has, what he's coming with. I don't care. So prenup to me is like, he doesn't trust me. To me, because this the culture I came from, and he doesn't trust me. That's why he's bringing this paper issue.
Okay.
I don't care about paper. I don't care about marriage paper signing because it's paper at the end of the day. It's not, if we are not really have that trust between the two of us, then paper
it has no meaning.
No meaning.
Right.
To me, it doesn't. So that was me.
How'd you get through that?
Communication.
A lot of communication and understanding, and also just embracing our differences. So he comes from this background. I come from this background.
Right.
Even if from failed marriage, we have the same background, but we have totally different cultures. I came from Ethiopian culture. He came from American culture. So I learned to understand that and embrace that differences. So whenever he said, it's not a trust issue, it is his culture. He believes in paper things. So I don't.
Okay, that's so interesting.
So slowly I get adjusted to that.
Okay.
And that difference is today our beauty, I would say. Yes, most of the things he was saying, I am thinking, he's right. Understanding the culture here.
Well, when you've been married,
that's right. It's okay.
Yeah.
So
and you get through a divorce, you learn.
Yeah.
That's just the fact of the matter. But, I hear people say that communication is the number one thing in a successful marriage or in any relationship. And I would differ because I do think trust is the number one thing. Communication does help with the trust.
It's the tool for trust.
Yeah. And because we feel so passionately about that, both of us, we decided to put it into a form of jewelry. So she's wearing,
and that's beautiful.
She's wearing a trust ring, bracelet.
So would you say,
always reminding ourselves of the importance?
Would you say that was the biggest challenge in your marriage to date?
Yeah, coming to a place where we could talk about difficult things and trust each other through it all, and knowing that we're going to entering into different cultures, as she mentioned, and what does that look like? How do we deal with those things? But I think it all comes down to commitment as well. That's another big word.
Yeah.
Trust,
communication,
commitment. All of those things.
Right. Well, it's interesting. Sahai mentioned safe, that she felt very safe with you. Did you not feel safe in your last marriage? Because that's an interesting word that you would use.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were looking for someone who was safe.
I mean, for my first marriage, basically we were both young, married, and lived. It's not a safety issue with that. But after I divorced, I was by myself. I don't trust, or I don't really feel safe around other men, I would say. And when I go to team after all that gap, I did not really felt that weird feeling, or is it as if I'm not going to a new person. I thought I know this person for long. That I had that feeling. Yeah, I feel very comfortable
and trusting. That's I think part of being safe is the trust.
So what's been another big challenge in your marriage?
Do you say? I would say having my son around. Like to understanding raising son. He raised girls.
Okay.
So my son. A little bit of challenge for us. It creates a little bit tension here and there. Mm-hmm. That was our challenge, but
Well, if it makes you feel any better, that was my parents' challenge too, raising a boy.
Yes.
It creates tension.
And his name is Dave, right?
I don't want to mention it. It would be unfair to call him out.
No, it is very hard to be a mother. Like, I wanted to be a mother. I don't know how father thinks. I think as a mother.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah. Get that.
I'm being between the two.
You were being the mother and the father.
Yeah. And appearing between Tim and my son, that would be a little bit of, it was tough on me in a way.
Kind of sharing the love.
Yeah.
Yeah, blended families definitely have a challenge, and we certainly empathize with others in that situation. It's hard enough when you start off together, you have children together, and then you make your plans. It's challenging when you have two families coming together, and you're trying to figure out how all this is going to gel.
Well, especially when your children are older, so they do see and know what's going on.
Yeah, they weren't babies.
Well, right, and especially
young teens.
Your daughters.
Yeah, my daughters were pretty much out of the house.
But they had some life experience, so they could see.
And my daughter's
perspective.
Basically, I was there. I was there for the most part for them until they went out of the house.
Okay.
Rachel had maybe 6 months before she went off to college.
Okay.
But they were pretty much raised. That wasn't, the case with her sons.
So you talked about how communication really helped you get through some of the trust issues having to do with the actual wedding, but then just the marriage as well. And again, as you both know, at our ages, I'll put it that way, I won't say your ages, at our ages, we have a little different understanding than we did when we were 20 and 22 and got married, right? And okay, so how does that, you guys have a lot of businesses. You've got the assisted living, you've got the jewelry business, you've got some of the other stuff you're doing down in Hollywood, you got the Grace Unfiltered. How does that communication help you go through? Because these other things we're talking about are creative. And even two like-minded creative people have different visions. I'm not at all creative, so mine's a square. But I mean, everything I do is some version of that. Okay. But so how does that communication help you get through all these other things? The decisions you have to make in your business.
Creatively.
Good answer. Good answer. Now go a little deeper.
Do you want to answer that question, or do you want me to try to?
But because you have one business that's maybe not a traditional business, but it's a traditional business in you're providing a service to a group of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, and so that's, and there's a lot of laws that govern that. And so maybe there's not, but you still have some creativeness in that on how you're going to do it. And why is what makes your business even better than anybody else's? But then you have this other side that's totally creative.
I think the reason it works so well is because she is an extremely creative person.
Okay.
And you normally don't see that in a humanitarian medical nursing type.
Yeah, well, that's
area.
Just a fax man type.
Yeah, it is. And but she is extremely adaptable in terms of her thought processes and how she sees different concepts and ideas. And she, I think, embraces those creative or artistic challenges as much as I do. So we really kind of feed off each other.
Yeah, so you're similar, but you have some differences that you can bring together.
And she brings the humanitarian influence. She really puts that I've never had.
Certainly humanitarian. I have management or project management background, which I draw and I utilize on business establishment and so on. I see his vision. Even if I can't see as much as he sees it, sometimes it's a little bit challenging to understand what he wanted to see, even if I know what he wanted to do, because everything is in his head. And he has a very big vision, which sometimes it's very complex when you see it. But I help him with, okay, what if we do it this way? What if we just chop it down and we bite it slow?
And he probably appreciates that because he doesn't see the small bites, right?
He doesn't. He doesn't see a small bite.
Okay.
He wanted to be perfect. He's very perfectionist in his way.
That's kind of a hindrance.
That is a hindrance in a way.
Sure.
But during COVID shutdown, we spent all the time together. We had the business in the house, and we have a lot of time to crafting and working through his project, breaking down his project from movie to reality TV or every pieces. We put them and laid all to
And you can help
make
him
the
do
point.
that.
Yes.
So he sees the big vision and you can
Yeah.
chop it down.
Yeah, she knows how to get
manageable
things
spots.
implemented.
Yeah, I
And-
try at least.
And speaking of books, I'll just interject one thing without going too much of a rabbit trail. There's a book called What About Bob? And that book is about Phil Vischer, the VeggieTales creator.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how he built something and lost it
Okay.
because he didn't have a Roy. And Roy is referring to Roy Disney, the brother of Walt Disney.
Oh, okay.
So Walt would never have been able to launch Disney as we know it, the movie Mega House, if he wouldn't have had somebody he could trust. There's that word.
Like Roy.
There's that word again, because he was the mastermind or the business side, the accounting side that he could trust. Well, Phil Vischer didn't have that. Not to, go off on too much of a tangent. She had a master's practically, and I was actually working toward a master's degree in project management.
Okay.
But then my dad got sick and died, and then I just wasn't in the right frame of mind, so I quit it. But so it was kind of interesting as we were getting to know each other. And I said, "Oh, you have like a master's degree in project management?" I was going to do that, and I didn't, and I explained why. So I knew I needed to be more like that.
Okay.
So I was doing that as an effort to balance
Gotcha.
the creative side with the visual communication degree. With
Yeah,
project
but
management.
my
But it-
mastering comes from more from experience than the actual education.
Yeah.
I never completed my master. I have started.
You're one
just-
class short,
Yeah,
though.
but
That's kind of
You're there.
anyway, like
Right.
I was there, but just to make the credentials that I do not completed my master. So I had experience, a lot of experience working with projects.
So something nobody ever talks about with marriage. Marriage is
In
hard.
your work life.
Yeah.
Marriage is hard, and there are times when there's disappointment. My marriage isn't hard, but everybody else's marriage is hard.
Yeah.
But and disappointment
we'll
comes.
be talking about that later. And I can't wait.
Disappointment comes, and then we both run multiple businesses, and there are disappointments in that, and there are disappointments in raising kids and making decisions, and I would imagine, and I've seen it. I haven't been part of it, but I've seen the disappointments that come from the creative side, and I they seem to be more. So, how do you deal with the disappointments as you go through life together?
I don't know if, sometimes it's, to use an analogy, you take 10 steps forward and
Yeah.
5 steps back, but you still feel like you're making progress. So I think as long as we feel like we're making progress, we're making progress.
Right? No.
You're moving
So,
forward.
yeah. So if we didn't see the progress, it would feel more disappointing. But when we see we're taking steps back, it's easy to see, okay, but if we wouldn't have done that, then this wouldn't have happened. And we apply that to everything, really, like houses that we thought we were going to get, but we didn't. And well, if we would have gotten that, we wouldn't have gotten this.
Right.
And so we've kind of used that in all of our life experiences.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of, our successes have been far greater in 5.5 years we've been married than any disappointment
Okay.
that would,
Yeah,
trump.
I get that, but I've had great success in some things, and I've had smaller disappointments, and sometimes the disappointments scar more than the
Right. Yeah.
the successes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing is, for Tim, his strengths to me, he never time pass without talking through things. We have some disappointment or anything, he will talk through. He
Okay.
brings me back. If I'm down with something or disappointed, then he will come talk, and he always know how to apologize.
That's a
If
big
not,
part of
and
it, isn't
that's
it?
a big thing.
What's that word?
He always apologize.
Well,
I mean,
what that means.
for something else. There is other word to substitute.
Believe it or not,
Yeah.
sometimes I say the wrong things.
Right.
And I know that would surprise a lot of people.
It does. It shocks me. And Tim, you can say, "I'm sorry."
Yeah, he said.
That-
Sometimes, but
That's
not always
huge.
without a
Yeah.
stutter.
Yeah,
Like Fonzie on Happy Days. Right?
that is. It's
But that's a big deal.
A
Yeah.
big deal, and he makes me to forget that soon. Then we go back to what we.
So our time is coming to an end, and I do have one more question. But is there anything you want to ask? Put you on the spot.
You always
As far as a
use cheat sheet.
question, because you guys do come from a very diverse backgrounds, and now you're coming together. So how do you make decisions together having such diverse backgrounds? I mean, it can be as easy as what we're going to have for dinner tonight. because you come from Ethiopian food and you come from American food. I mean, to me, there'd be a lot of decisions knowing your background to be able to make a cohesive decision together. So how do you guys work those diversities? Like, what's for dinner tonight?
What's dinner for tonight?
Do you eat Ethiopian? Do you go to like
your
Ethiopian
cultural
parties?
heritages run headstrong into each other.
Ethiopian food is not something that you can do spontaneously.
Okay.
It takes and requires lots of planning. And for that reason, we choose to do other things with our time.
Right.
Do you miss the Ethiopian food then?
If I miss, I'll get to eat.
Right, but it could be other things, like Ethiopian holidays.
Yeah.
Like, is there Ethiopian holidays? I mean, you guys just come from different backgrounds. So how do you make decisions together?
Because our backgrounds are very similar. But
Right.
you guys spent 30 years in different continents.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So when the cultures collide, how do you?
Or like how you celebrate
make the
birthdays.
process?
I mean, to me, there'd be all these things that.
Yeah, pretty much
different.
we adapted to each other, and we create a middle ground, I think so. At this point, I do not care if he eats what I eat or no.
Okay.
Initially it was an issue, like, oh, you are eating always this food or this food. We had some issues around
Okay.
that.
All right.
But at this point, he eats what he wants to eat. I eat what I wanted to eat. Or most of the time, we eat together, because I do not really obsessed only with Ethiopian food.
Okay.
I have lived outside Ethiopia for many, many years, so I'm already in that food. But if there is Ethiopian food I wanted to eat, he doesn't care now, But it
will
took
Tim
us
eat it?
sometimes. Some he eats, but not all.
What about Ethiopian holidays? Is the year different, or is there some holidays that are really important to you?
To me, holiday is when we are celebrating ourselves or our thing together.
Okay.
I really don't care as much, but when there is Ethiopian holiday, friends celebrating, we'll go together.
Okay, great.
We are there. Sometimes I invite Ethiopian friends at home. I will cook Ethiopian food, and whether he eats what selectively, he would eat some of it. If he doesn't eat, I understand. I don't care. So, that is not an issue for us right now.
And what about like July 4th or some American traditions?
She's always been very, very conscious about, what are your customs? What are your traditions? I want to do that.
Okay.
And I just kind of try to take pressure off that. Say, it doesn't matter to me. What matters is that, we're together and we're.
So both of you guys have had to go some of that stuff.
I don't put any pressure on her to cook a certain Christmas this or Thanksgiving that or whatever it is.
Okay.
I don't. It's just not that.
Yeah.
So this is not my question. I guess I had two questions, but there'll probably be more. So we know you were in Indiana. You grew up in Indiana, and you did some work in Indiana. You were born in Kenya, right? Ethiopia.
Yeah.
And then you traveled to Kenya, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know you did some work with the Red Cross.
Yes.
Okay.
I did.
And where did you travel to? Just give us 3 or 4 minutes and tell us where you traveled and how you got here.
That's good question. And I lived in Kenya with my ex-husband and my 2 kids.
So you went there in your married years?
Yes,
Okay.
in my married years. Then while my family based in Kenya, I was traveling from Kenya to South Sudan, Norway. Then I traveled from Kenya to Netherlands
Oh, wow.
and Sudan, not South Sudan, Sudan. I had project in Sudan, so I traveled between Netherlands and Sudan.
Okay.
Then I traveled I moved back, I moved back to Ethiopia with my 2 sons. At that time, I already separated with my husband. Actually, it was a big tension between my career and my marriage.
Sure.
Really? Wow.
That and my family break up because of all my travel and career. Then we moved back to Ethiopia. Still from Ethiopia, I work between the Switzerland. I was a country representative for Switzerland in Sudan. So between Switzerland and Sudan, I was traveling between the 2 countries.
And how far was that in traveling?
Oh, in terms of it's
Just
a flight.
flight, yeah.
Just flight. between Sudan to Switzerland. I don't exactly recall.
Okay.
Because always I had
was it like
connection
15
flight.
hours or like 4?
Always connection flight.
Okay.
Then,
So it was a long way.
Yeah, it's a kind of long way, but not really in the same time. Then I do also work with the German. Then I go to Pakistan.
Oh, wow. You have been all over, haven't you?
She has.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had that humanitarian background, which I lived in sometimes in the tent, sometimes in 5-star hotels, sometimes I went between community to high officials.
Wow.
Just like a bipolar. My life was like one day.
But still, that's so interesting.
And then you had a friend that encouraged you to come here, right? Come to Oregon or America and Oregon?
Yes.
A friend?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Okay, I hope you studied. Here's your question.
Yeah.
Put you on the
It's for
spot.
both of you. What's one thing that you guys learned that's helped in your marriage, that's helped your marriage thrive?
To me, embracing our differences.
Okay.
Because our beauty is from our difference.
That is very well said. Our beauty is from our differences.
Yes. Then I also understanding the truth. And one thing I'm so grateful being married to Tim. I know my words now because of I know Christ better than I used to. So I am secured and feel joyful inside.
Yep.
Because of the presence of Christ in me.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I could highlight, not only highlight, talk deeply inside me. The presence of Christ in me is everything.
Oh, amen.
Yes, it is amen.
Fantastic.
And that's why you can live a successful life here on earth, because you know your eternal salvation is going to be in heaven and nothing can jeopardize that. That's how complete the cross was.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Same question. That was a really good answer.
Yeah.
The pressure's on. If I known it was going to be that good, I'd have asked you first.
Yes, I wish you would have. I really can't add anything to that. I mean, I could, in terms of our marriage, what I've learned from that, but I think your question was maybe even more broad. What have you learned from marriage?
Right.
And if I answer it that way, I have a different answer. I think it's very important for people to, in a marriage relationship, to understand boundaries. And that can be with family. That can be with, particularly when you're in our case, blending a family.
Mm-hmm.
You have to realize that, I'll use my daughter as an example. My daughters are my daughters, but my wife is my wife. And, that can be switched to both spouses. But I think in a blended marriage, that's very important. But to any marriage, that's important. I've heard it said,
understanding the roles of
exactly understanding roles. And, I heard, I remember taking a parenting class way back when, and they were saying that, children are a welcome addition to the family, but you were a family before you had kids.
Keep that intact. Yeah.
And so that's something that would be an example of a boundary. My parents, I think they had a tremendously successful marriage, but I think what made it successful, had less to do with their relationship with each other, but it had more to do with their parenting skills. And that was the boundaries they set. In other words, if my mom said no, or my dad said no, and I went to one, I might as well not waste my time going to the other one.
That's perfect. Yep.
Because the answer is going to be the same.
Yep.
And I think that's a huge illustration for boundaries, particularly with parenting. And same thing is true just for your relationship as well. But anyway, that would be how I would answer that question.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time this evening. Anything else you want to say?
Thank you for interviewing us.
Yeah, it's great to get to know you guys more and your relationship and how you guys met.
And they can
great.
get to know us better.
Yeah.
And what we're about and what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And as well as you, as you're hosting and interviewing us.
Yes.
And also thank you for being part of our story.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh yeah,
So,
you were a big part of it.
I know that's really
For
exciting.
sure.
You,
For
you know,
sure.
you never know when you'll have an impact on someone. You just never know. To me, it was just an innocent meeting. We're
Yeah.
getting to know you guys at Sherry's.
Yeah.
You were thinking of coming to our church. That's all that we
Exactly.
knew it was. And look at how impactful it's been.
Oh yeah, that's
Exactly.
huge.
So
You had no idea at that time.
no, but that's just a great story
When you're
too.
introducing us to Marianberry
Yeah.
cheesecake.
And you guys are, you guys are dropping a podcast the first Wednesday of every month.
We're trying to start off with one a month.
First Wednesday of the month, though.
Yeah.
A Wednesday of the month.
Which Wednesday? Do you know?
Well, whenever she can get it edited. I don't. Again,
No, we will be
just like the food thing. I don't put any pressure on food. I don't put any pressure on editing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, so all you that are listening to us, keep an eye out or an ear out for on any given Wednesday morning
mhm.
podcast of Grace Unfiltered, and you can watch this my podcast, Grace Life Northwest, Sunday mornings at 10 or 11, depending on where I'm teaching. Tuesday nights at 7, Thursday nights at 7, and we appreciate you all being here. So wherever you may be,
That's a wrap.
That's where you are.
wherever you may be, thanks for being with us here tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
Thank you, Abe.
That's a wrap.
See, it is a good line.